I have been lucky enough to kind of get my own fandom online that creates incredible fan art and lots of fan fiction and even genders that are based off my characters. And I've never read the fanfiction before, but I've always thought it would be really fun to just dive in and see what people are writing. Hopefully it's appropriate for YouTube. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I forgot to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Asher and welcome to my channel. Am I terrified? Absolutely. But this fan art wall took literally 6 hours to put together, so I am officially entering my YouTuber era. If you just type in Mr. Plant, Argos, fanfiction, results actually come out, which is kind of a little insane. There's stuff on Archive of Our Own and on Wattpad, which is crazy to me because I've read so many Wattpad stories during my life, so it feels kind of like an honor that people are writing Wattpad stories about my characters. Alright, so I went on Wattpad and I found this one called Hidden Voice by Kiki that has 11,000 views and 237 stars, so I'm expecting greatness. Mr. Plant sat on his couch. He stared at the broken TV and watched the static grow. It made a strange buzzing sound that seemed to get louder the more he listened. Argos stood in front of Mr. Plant's door. He couldn't seem to decide if he should walk away or not. Mr. Plant huffed and got up, grabbing his TV. Argos looked right at the door, deciding to knock. He really didn't know if this was the right decision. Mr. Plant perked and dropped the TV. He walked to the door, opening it. Argos looked up immediately, smiling upon seeing Mr. Plant. Argos stayed silent for a few moments before finding the courage to speak. Hello, Mr. Plant? Should I be doing... I don't even know if I should be doing Argos' voice when I'm not in Argos' look. It feels a little wrong. Mr. Plant nodded a bit in response. He rubbed his hands together. Argos took in a bit of a shaky breath. I was thinking that, maybe today me and you could do something together. Mr. Plant shrugged. He put his hands down and he reached out for Argos. Argos looked at Mr. Plant's hands, a little confused. This is like a whole book. This is a very well-written fanfiction. Kiki did a great job, so if you want to read this, go check it out. So I actually found an Ask Mr. Plant and Argos, which I think is kind of fun because I can tell you what I think of their responses and whether or not I think they'd be character accurate. I Love Games 1238 said, Hi, I'm new to Wattpad, but question for Argos. What would you think of Mr. Plant if he killed someone in front of you? Don't have to answer if you don't want to. And Argos said, I would help get rid of the body. Well, you know, he actually did do that at one point, so I feel like that answer is actually fairly accurate. By the way, I can't believe there's 21 Mr. Plant stories on Wattpad. That is insane. This one's called Obsession, and I actually have heard that people say this one is good, which is exciting, so let's dive on in. It's the #1 rated Mr. Plant story. This is your official warning that this fanfiction might not be appropriate for all ages. I've kind of edited it so it's PG-13, but while I was reading it, I had no idea what I was reading, but it was too fun not to share. Update, I'm labeling the chapters. Is this gonna be appropriate for me to put on YouTube? Should I try to do a British accent like the AI narrator? Mr. Plant is very possessive. No. Mr. Plant is very possessive of his Omega. God bless anyone who comes between them. Where have you been? Mr. Plant signs. Mr. Plant can't figure out whose scent is on Argos. Smells like an alpha. Probably one who's close to their rut. If Mr. Plant went out more, there's a chance Mr. Plant might have been able to understand whose scent it was. Are they wolves in this fanfiction? Argos doesn't respond. He's frozen in fear. Reminding himself that Argos isn't his Omega yet, he asks once again, grabbing Argos. Where have you been? How does he sign and also grab Argos at the same time? That's the question I have. Mr. Plant growls before he can stop himself. Argos bares his neck submissively and apologizes once more. What? I don't know if I'm allowed to put this on here. Mr. Plant checks for any marks that Argos possibly could have been claimed by an alpha. There were none. I promise, I pushed him off and sent him home. Enough of this pinning. Mr. Plant pulls Argos in, biting his neck. Mine, mine, mine. Understand who you belong to, Argos. I kind of want to skip down a little bit and see how this develops. It's so odd to me because I'm like, back when I was on Wattpad, it was mostly Larry Styleson fanfictions. Are Alpha and Omega stuff like really popular now? Because I'm like, alright, Cupid Init posted, is this what the Omegaverse is? IDK, 26 minutes ago. Woo! This has been getting some reads today. Argos came back from work early. He felt the first signs of his heat halfway into his workday. He used his sick note and left early. Mr. Plant's scent wasn't completely protecting him anymore. It had been hours since he'd left. Thankfully, Mr. Plant's void wasn't too far away, and the faster he got there... He used basic perfume to hide his scent, although he was still getting stares around alphas around him. It's crazy that people watch my videos and get this. I mean, I feel like I very much have the idea that once you put something out into the world, it is the audience's thing, kind of, and it's not really yours, and it kind of takes on a life of its own. And it's interesting that this is the life that my series has taken on. Interesting. Y'all know the creator of Mr. Plant knows you guys make fanfics and reads them? He what? Is this for real? Yeah, he reads some. He admitted to it in his 1-year anniversary vid. So I actually have not read any up until now. So if I said that, I was a liar. I knew about the existence of the fanfictions and I had kind of skimmed some, but this is my first time like actually sitting down and like reading and seeing what you guys make, and all I can say is, y'all's brains are more messed up than mine is. All I can say about this fanfiction is that sometimes ignorance is bliss. I think maybe this is my sign to switch to AO3. Additional tags: fluff, domestic fluff, boys in love, comfort no hurt, tooth rotting fluff, short and sweet, idiots in love, touch starved. All things I very much enjoy. Summary: Mr. Plant isn't very used to touch. Argos isn't either, but for a different reason. They have each other and that's really all that matters. Alright, let's dive in. Mr. Plant isn't very used to touch. The main reason? In the past he constantly pushed away any form of affection. The mere idea of it made him disgusted, and thus he never accepted it from anyone. Canon. Hugs were a big no. If someone hugged him without permission, you can guarantee they'd be 6 feet under. Small things like hand-holding, grabbing, or just generally brushing up against him purposely were also big no's. Those occasions would often end in bloodshed, though nothing too severe, most of the time. It was safe to say he was unused to it. Having spent so much time avoiding it, he never really got to experience just how nice it could be to just hold someone's hand. When he met Argos, he learned that although Argos was very unused to touch, it was for a drastically different reason. Argos was very touchy. He loved holding hands with people and clinging on to someone. He loved hugs even more, accepting them without hesitation, no matter who the person was. Why was he so unused to touch? Well, the answer is simple. No one gave it to him. That's very sad. It's funny because Argos doesn't actually touch anyone in the series, because nobody touches anyone in the series, because all the characters are played by me. So, technically, it's right. I recently did a photo shoot that has both of them in the same photo together, that while doing it, I didn't even make them touch in any of the photos. Which is very interesting, because clearly, I think Argos would probably want to touch Mr. Plant. When they had first started dating, Mr. Plant had allowed Argos to touch him a bit more, allowing Argos to hold his hand, tap his shoulder, wrap his arm around his own when he was feeling nervous. He even allowed Argos to hug him a few times, after he'd asked, of course. It was a rough ride, Mr. Plant having to adjust the new affection he was receiving, and Argos having to hold himself back from just dumping all his love onto the man. He slipped up a few times, but Mr. Plant always forgave him, even if it was something sudden. They would talk about it, how they could fix it, and then move on. Aww. That's cute. Their communication is way better in this fanfiction than it is in the series. It's very interesting that in a lot of these fanfictions, you guys have Mr. Plant using ASL, which he's never used it in the series because although I did take an ASL class, I don't really know ASL very well, but I have thought about using it. I think it would be really cool and fun, so I think maybe if I pick up some, maybe I'll incorporate it. But I don't want to like use it and then use it wrong and it be awful, so that's a very loose maybe. Alright, I'm gonna read one last fanfiction. Summary. I made another fanfic, but this time it's about 2 TikTok weirdcore OCs being gay because there is exactly one on this site. Argos is kinda hot, not gonna lie. Thank you. Mr. Plant wrung his hands together. Someone was watching him. He didn't want to be watched today. He looked around his void 5 times now, and there were no eyes anywhere, except the ones on his cards from Argos. Argos does put little eyes on his cards. Ting! They always watched him, but it was a comfortable watching. Oddly comfortable, especially when he slept. Mr. Plant felt the unknown watchers burn holes into his back. Meanwhile, Argos watched Mr. Plant from outside his void. He knew he was uncomfortable. He'd seen the incessant, worried wringing of his hands. But there was no way he'd see Argos outside the wall, peeking in through a small hole covered by his oddly thin picture of Mr. Flower. That would be a gag, if that was a plot thing. That would be a gag. But also, the picture of Mr. Flower is gone now, but that would be a gag. If Argos could walk him and comfort his love, he knew the hands would stop. It bothered him so how worried Mr. Plant always was. Argos snapped a quick photo of him through the portrait. It was quite blurry, but he didn't mind as long as it was Mr. Plant. Argos hurried back to his void just as Mr. Plant felt the eyes go away and relax. The picture was pinned up to his wall, right in the middle of his shrine. Mr. Plant was flawless, even if he got Argos fired from his job. I think I'm gonna end this here. A lot of this fanfiction was actually really cute. Some of it traumatized me just a little bit, but it really means the world to me that people love my characters so much and create art and create stories based around them. That means the world to me. It is everything to me. So if you like my videos, please subscribe and like and interact, comment, do all those good things, and I will see you in the next one.